Goose is another one, command line version and the GUI version, which I already showed. This is developed by Block, the people who are formerly Square. It's all full open source. The reason there's a GUI is they really meant it to be more than just a developer tool. People across the business in all of Square or Block have been using this to manipulate spreadsheets, and obviously you saw the MCP to manipulate the browser. So the MCP was a real focus of the Goose tool. Does support multiple LMs plus the local versions via Olama. It's fully agentic with integrated tooling. It does support the MCP. It does support Open Router. It does use things like your Mac keychain to store the credentials and keys. So it's really nice to have that no secrets on the file system bit or environment variables to deal with. At least on a Mac, it seems very native and feels good. Some new things they've added in Goose recently that are important to note. They've added in recipes. So you can set up a predefined set of extensions, like MCP extensions you want, a predefined model you want, and a system prompt and an instruction prompt, kind of as a nice little package. And you can have sub recipes. And so as you make a recipe, you can actually have a sub recipe call off like a tool, for example, that has a clean context, doesn't have all the noise from the main context in it, and you pass it to just the data you want it to do some work on, and then the output from that sub recipe gets added into the full context of the main path of your whatever you're working on. So I think it's pretty powerful. It also has the ability to do sub agents, so you can actually tell it to spawn off, 5 parallel sub agents to work on some task in parallel. That's also possible with Goose, which is kind of nice. Similarly, it has a conventions file called goosehence. They are also in their documentation noting that they're going to be moving toward that agents.md standard as well. You can restart a session. By default, Goose will start new sessions each time you start up your Goose terminal command, but you can actually resume pre-existing sessions and you can get lists of the sessions that are in there. And it does have multiple permission modes. We saw with Aider, there's kind of the yes, no, or don't ask me again, which didn't seem to work. There's actually a completely autonomous mode, a manual approval mode, smart approval, and chat only mode. So you can kind of go into read only, don't mutate a darn thing mode, which is a little more comforting. So Goose gives you those bits out of the box.
Hey,
Uh,
Calvin, quick
yeah,
question for you
yeah.
from the audience and Travis. Mark asks, so are code reviews a thing of the past?
No, goodness, no. Actually, they're a thing of the future. Everyone will be doing them because you shouldn't trust these things. These are, what do you call them? Unreliable narrators in the story, but they're also about as capable. They're a very well educated, knowledgeable intern. They don't know all the best practices you know until you tell them about the best practices, which is why crafting these convention files is going to be really important, and having code reviews to make sure that they're not getting off the rails is also very important because they can go off and do some things you just aren't expecting and you'd want them to do. But I think code reviews are going to be we're going to become more managers of agents as
Mm.
developers and guiding them to the right solutions. But that leaves an interesting hole in the market in my mind for the junior developers, people coming right out of school. I don't know how they're going to learn that level of guidance. Like Travis and I have been doing this for literally decades, and so we're really good at guiding these kinds of tools. So that'd be interesting to see what happens there. Actually, I'm going to kick off the. See, go ahead and do the user registration endpoint. We'll see if we can get some code finally changing over here. Okay, we'll head over to Goose. Where did my Goose demo go? Here we go. So we're in Goose. On this side, I've got the Goose directories like opened up here. I just launched Goose. One nice thing about Goose, like the config that you use between your GUI and the command line tool are shared. So are the keys. So no matter which way you launch it, it's going to use whatever your configurations are. For example, if I wanted to change which provider I'm using, I can come here and type goose config. Must be configured. There we go. And this gives a nice little text UI for enabling changing up the various settings inside of Goose, which providers are available, what extensions are turned on. So we'll do the same thing with Goose. I do have a Goose hence in here. We should be able to give it. Okay, you notice that window pop open. This is the MCP for Serena that is actually a language server running behind the scenes, and it opens up a nice little log window so you can actually see what it's doing mostly to know if your MCP, if your model is using it or not. Sometimes you have to poke and prod and tell it, remember, you've got Serena there as a language server. Don't forget to use it because it won't always use it. Sometimes it'll say ignore it. Let's do the same thing. Let's ask it for a list of all the running pods. Actually, let's do that one. That's a fun one. Tech stack. Describe the tech stack of this project. A really common operation I'll use for this is when I'm going into a brand new project. I don't know anything about it. Maybe it got dropped on my plate. I'm supposed to come in here and help rescue something. This is a great way where these agents can help you because they'll go through and like look at the directory structure, look at the files in here, find some key files that sound like they might be important, like an architecture diagram or a getting started file, and it will, you can see it's doing an ls, it's looking at the view. So this is nice to see. Viewing the README. How many developers open up a project and forget to go read the README document, and it says exactly how to get started, and yet you will sit and spin your wheels for like 5 hours trying to figure out how to get the project launched? Well, these agentic coding agents are smarter than us in that they will go and do it every time. They'll go and read all these things. You can see there, it's reading the architecture diagram. It's looking at the backend folder, looking at the front end folder. This will take a hot minute. Let's actually check in over on our aider to see what it's doing.
We're about the halfway mark.
Perfect. We may start over on the next one real quick. I'll let that keep running. Hopefully it'll give us a good overview of our project. The last one I'm going to cover half of this with, and I'll pass off to Travis, is Claude Code.